I am a registered Republican. My dad was the president of American Pipeliners Association, so I came by it rather naturally. Voted for the president, supported him, but I really want to apologize. I mean, I'm looking at this awful picture of the Obamas. What an embarrassment to our country. All this man does is tell lies. He is not worthy of the presidency. He takes bribes blatantly, and now he's being a racist blatantly. They were supposed to deport the dangerous criminals. They were not supposed to go after small children, storm schools, bring terror upon, the little kids and the women and children, not just the immigrants in the school. All the children are scared. This is not a decent man.
What's up, everybody? Major retired Richard Ojeda here, and a die-hard Trump fan, a MAGA loyalist, an NFT card-buying, red cap-wearing, Trump flag-waving, long-time registered Republican is now swimming in regret over his brain-dead decision to not only support Donald Trump once, but 3 times. That's insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
This is not an honest man. He openly takes bribes. He's pathetic as a president, and I just want to apologize to everybody in the country for supporting this rotten man.
And it's not just because he admits that he got sucked in by the stupidity of the so-called job creation lie. It's because he finally had enough.
John, did you vote for him in all 3 elections?
I did. I was sucked into the stupidity of creating jobs, and there are no more jobs in New Mexico. Things are worse than they were before. You cannot find a primary care position.
He couldn't live inside his own skin anymore, realizing what he was actually supporting, realizing who he had aligned himself with, realizing the dark agenda he helped enable. He couldn't keep lying to himself. And he did what so many Republicans in Congress are absolutely terrified to do. He spoke out of principle, out of disgust for everything Donald Trump and his administration stand for. Unlike GOP sellouts like James Comer or Jim Jordan, who basically actually learned something from this moment. And C-SPAN just happened to be the place where it all came spilling out. His raw, unfiltered reckoning with what supporting Donald Trump actually means. It was a full-blown confession, not just about politics, but about conscience, about realizing the damage that Donald Trump has done to the country and to himself. And what we saw on that call was something the MAGA world cannot stand. Someone admitting that they were wrong. That was the moment that it snapped, because this wasn't just about vague regret. This was the MAGA spell starting to break in real time. Now, that shouldn't be some shocking act of courage, right? But in MAGA land, admitting that you were wrong is practically heresy. Instead of doubling down, instead of blaming a staffer, the media, Democrats, or some imaginary deep state, this guy said it plainly. He said he was wrong. He said that he was embarrassed. And he said the man he supported is not worthy of the presidency. And he finally got it right. What pushed him over the edge wasn't some policy disagreement or partisan squabble. It was that image, Barack and Michelle Obama depicted as apes. That was the line, a moral line. Because once you see that, you can't unsee it. And once that line is crossed, everything else comes rushing in behind it. The open corruption, the bragging about taking bribes, the cruelty masquerading as law and order. He talked about how they were supposed to go after dangerous criminals, not storm schools, terrorize kids, rip families apart, and leave children shaking in fear. And that matters, because for years MAGA wrapped itself in the fantasy of being tough, righteous, and protective. NRA flags, gun talk, rise up against tyranny. But when real tyranny showed up, masked agents, unaccountable power, armed men kicking in doors, suddenly all that bravado disappeared because it was never about freedom. It was about who gets protected and who doesn't. And then there's the stuff MAGA itself spent years screaming about. The Epstein files, the obsession with pedophiles, Pizzagate, secret cabals, and of course, Save the Children. For years they told everyone else to wake up, and now that the names are coming out, it's not Obama, it's not Biden, it's Trump and his circle showing up again and again. That's not just hypocrisy, that's a betrayal so deep it forces a reckoning. And for a lot of longtime conservatives, there's another layer to this that hits even harder, and that's Russia. These are people who grew up being told Russia was the enemy. On AM radio, yes, even in church, doomsday preachers warning about the end of times, the tribulation. Russia was always cast as the villain. Now suddenly Donald Trump is aligning with Putin, trashing our allies, praising dictators, and treating authoritarian strongmen like role models. That's not just political whiplash. That's a worldview collapsing. And when all of that crashes together, the racism, the cruelty, the corruption, the lies, the conspiracies that turn out to be projections, you hit a moment where you either double down or you break. This guy broke because MAGA panic has been feeding people the same diet for years. Fluoride hysteria, vaccine paranoia, aliens, end times nonsense, propaganda pumped through bots and bad faith influencers, all designed to keep people angry, scared, and locked inside a fantasy where admitting you were wrong was impossible. That's not strength. That's addiction. And like any addiction, recovery starts with the one thing narcissism can't tolerate, admitting that there's a problem. That's what Donald Trump can't do. That's why his enablers can't do it either. And that's why moments like this terrify the movement. Because when one person says it out loud, when they stop lying to themselves, it gives others permission to do the same. This caller proves something important, and that is that there's still hope. Hope that people can wake up. Hope that they can confront what they're supported, what they've been supporting for years. Hope that they can admit they were wrong and choose a different path, something better than cruelty, corruption, alignment with dictators, and the protection of predators and their enablers. And if he can do it, then MAGA can do it too. And that's a fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.